Hi. Jean-François Bélisle, Director and CEO of the National Gallery. I'm a host, but I'm a guest in my house, which is really fun. Really excited to do this. And I wanna tell you guys a story. I've been looking at AI for a long time and looking at visual arts that influence or work with AI, asking myself the question, will AI kill visual arts or not? And I'll tell you the story and we can decide after. Back in 2019, I co-curated an astonishing art project in the Joliette Art Museum where I was before, that ended up creating what was thought to be at the time, or what was known at the time as the world's first sculpture made by artificial intelligence. And building that project raised a number of really interesting issues that I'll talk about. It began when I met a British artist by the name of Matt Chivers at the Venice Biennale in 2016. And he is an artist sculpture artist that always interacts at the mixture of science world and art world. Had done projects with Oxford University, with a number of projects in the States, throughout Europe and Africa. And I had been looking for someone that wanted to tackle AI, and I thought this is the person. Of course, sculpture is heavy. Didn't want to ship it from England, so convinced him to do something in Canada. So the project came together in 2017. It happened right when the Montreal Declaration of Responsible AI was being discussed. And what we tried to do, what he wanted to do, is to try to create the first AI that was capable of understanding touch, that was capable of understanding the way we interact with the world, so 3D space and physical contact. And to do that, we turned to clay. And I'll skip a whole bunch of steps of this project that took many years to put together, but basically we approached Concordia, got 200 students together, or no less than 30 students, to go and collect 200 pounds of clay from a riverbed, so natural clay, untouched by man. And then we used that to create the data set to train the AI. So we then partnered with C2 Montreal and asked hundreds, thousands of people to just take a lump of clay and squeeze it in their hand. So the simplest of gestures. And then we scanned all of these lumps, and we used that as a data set to try to teach an AI how to manipulate clay. At the time, we were informed our partner to make the AI possible was Element AI. And the first thing they told us is, well, there's no AI that exists that understands 3D space, so we need to invent it. About 100 programmers worked on it for close to a year. It wasn't going anywhere, but in the end, it succeeded. After a year of trying, it sort of did the basic trigonometry of 3D spaces, and then we asked it, well, now squish some clay yourself. And it looked horrible to start with, but it worked. Ultimately, to varying degrees, so the artist came back in to select a 3D rendering that he thought worked somewhat with what the human gesture was like. And then we decided to produce that sculpture. But of course, we had to not go, Matt's idea was that everything up to this point was carbon-based, was man-based. So how do we produce a sculpture that is not part of the carbon world? So we traveled way up north to Charlevoix, collected 14 tons of impactite, so a meteorite that fell on Earth hundreds of thousands of years ago, and trucked it back to Montreal. And then he didn't want to touch it himself because he thought then it'll be carbon influenced. So we had to find a 7-axis milling machine robot that was in Lac Mégantic to produce the sculpture out of this impactite. The end result was what looked like a lump of clay, but it was in this really dark stone. The same height as a normal human being, so about 1.80 meters tall by 2 meters wide. And we showed it in Joliette with the data set, with 1,500 tiny little lumps of clays that had been scanned to produce the big work. And then around the room, there were these graphite drawings that Matt did, always a pair of birds. The left drawing he drew with his right hand, the right drawing he drew with his left hand, so playing on both hemispheres of the brain. And they were always migratory birds that live in Canada, as a lot of Canadians do, split their time between Montreal and Florida or Montreal and Mexico. And And so it was talking about the voyage of like, we're migrating as a species, we're leaving on this migration. Are we going to come back? Are we not going to come back? These birds are also often tattooed on sailors' back before they go on their first maiden voyage. And then in the second room of the exhibition, he produced a video, this really stunning video of a lighthouse in Charlevoix at sunrise, slowly going around in a very poetic, very beautiful manner, and a text being read over it. And the text is sort of hard to decipher at first, but about a minute in, you realize that it's a man talking, and the man lives in the lighthouse, and it's sometimes in the future. We don't know how far off. And the man doesn't do anything. He's there with his partner, and it's after the creation of what he called One, which was an overpowering AI that basically took over the world and resolved everything. No more food problems, no more health problems, no more money problems for anyone. Everything was automated, and humans didn't have anything to do but sit around and play with clay. And it's a bit of a poetic gesture. He's not reading the future at all, but he was thinking, well, if AI takes care of everything, what do we have left except touch and except the materiality of our lives, which was very present in the room before. It was an amazing project. Took a year and many years to put together, tons and tons of money and partnerships to create. But it was amazing to see how the public responded. And I will always remember, I think the second day into the show, I took this group of accountants from a local shop down the street and they came in, they thought, oh, this is beautiful, what is it? And then you tell the whole story. And at the end, they all they had graduated from their university program 2 years ago, and they thought, well, why do we study accounting? Like, what are we going to do? And so it raised a lot of questions. And I think ultimately what this project did is what all great art does, is initiate new thoughts, new discussions, and asks new questions. And within the project, AI was a tool. AI would have never produced any of this stuff without an artist being there, shepherding it along, and making all the decisions that mattered. Thank you.